welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shira.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Hey! Welcome to the wonderful world of what's going on next.
Oh, man. Can we just, take a pause and say no more changes for a little while? Can we just take a break from
The chaos of life. I know, it feels like lately there's been this, extra surge of changes and constant, oh, well, this is new, and then this is new, oh, and then all this information just came out. Here's what's next. Read up on this, learn this.
It's happening so fast.
So fast.
One right after the other.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been dealing with these constant changes for several years now since the pandemic, but it feels like it's even more frequent.
And it's rapid.
It's rapid.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with it, and it's hard to stay sane.
Yeah, to say the least. I know. It's like sanity checks are more needed than ever right now.
Yes.
And doing the whole taking time for your self-care activities. And even that sounds exhausting sometimes. Like, oh gosh, now I got to go meditate. Why does that feel so exhausting, even though it's so beneficial for you?
You know, I've been telling you that, and the audience, that I've been trying to do this morning and evening, journaling and meditation. I'm not going to lie. There's been a handful of mornings where I just go up and sit and turn on my meditation music that has the little bells. So I know that after that 20, 30 minutes, it's time to go and get ready.
I tell you what, that block scheduling, we've talked about this on some previous episodes. Definitely go back and listen to, I think, the last 2 or 3 if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. But the block scheduling and even block scheduling the self-care time has been very helpful. Mm-hmm. I will say that I have punted that little self-care time one too many times in the past couple of days, and I am feeling it now. So while we're talking about self-care, I do want to jump in today's topic. So today we wanted to chat about your looks, and not just your looks, but how you feel with how you look and how that impacts you on a daily basis and how that can impact your own self-care routine and things of that nature.
And self-value and self-worth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I've had a couple of things done recently to assist me in my own personal appearance. And even though they have some health concerns attached to it, I'll just jump in and tell you what those are. So I had a fun little mole growing at the top of my eyebrow that what I thought was a pimple just kind of appeared out of nowhere that never wanted to go away. And it became such an annoyance that I was constantly either picking at it or playing with it. Every time we would take a selfie or a photo, I'd find myself opening the phone and going straight to the zooming in of that little eyebrow and editing that out. And I was like, wow. And so it was kind of a micro experience for me where it might not have lasted so long. It was still something that in the mirror while brushing my teeth or whatever, I would notice it every single day. Mm-hmm. And it became an annoyance. And then I started questioning my own looks and having all these fun moments of not so fun moments of self-doubt in my own appearance.
Negative self-talk.
Right. Negative self-talk. And I was like, you have access to a dermatologist through your own health insurance. Why don't you book that appointment? You can make a change here instead of focusing on this for 6 to 7 months straight, mm-hmm. which is what I was doing. So I booked the appointment. I had it removed. It's having a pathology test done on it. That was nerve-wracking. It's in a healing process. I feel better about it. You came in today and you were like, I barely even noticed it. And that was the best news I could have heard, honestly. But upon discussing this with you, when I had the procedure done last Friday, it was very painful, I'm not going to lie, but not to scare anybody to go get it done. If you need to, please do it. But it was kind of one of those moments where I was like, you know what? I've spent so much time and effort staring at this one thing that made me feel bad. Mm-hmm. And was it about whether or not I was being or felt attractive to somebody else? That wasn't my concern. I knew that was such a small thing on my face that like not everyone was like paying attention to that. I don't think. I wasn't concerned about that. I was concerned with what I felt and how I felt about it. And so I wanted to kind of just discuss a little bit of this difference between the things that you do for yourself and how you feel versus the things that you do to appease others outside of you.
I know growing up, through the 90s, I read a lot of magazines, 17, People, all the teen bop and whatnot,
Right.
And the majority of those magazines that weren't just teen bop showing off, Hollywood stars, but like 17 magazine and In Style and I don't know
Right.
the other ones. But the majority of the headlines on the front page were something to do with how to make yourself appeal to the opposite sex.
And those like little articles are rampant. They ran rampant with those.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, how do you get lips that he'll want to kiss? How can you dress to have people look at you more? And so these things definitely created patterns in us. And luckily, I think we are becoming more aware. And I also think a lot of us are putting those things in like the fuck it bucket. And which I appreciate. That bucket gets bigger as you get older.
Yeah, it does.
But when we're transitioning to, well, how do we feel about ourselves? I think that's different.
Yeah.
Now, some people may get hung up on what they perceive as imperfections. Mm-hmm. Our culture is very fraught with selling living longer, appearing younger longer, resisting the aging process.
Yeah.
What happens when we resist?
It persists.
Yeah, there's no getting away from life cycle. Like, it is what it is. But, one of the things that gets me is when people, like, with wrinkles and things like that, mm-hmm. where they try to resist and prevent wrinkles. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's great to do skincare and face care and doing the care that promotes health and wellness, because our skin is our biggest organ on our body, and it protects us from outside invaders.
Yeah.
From little buggies. And and so it is good that we take good care of it.
Right.
It gets thinner, it gets fragile as we age, so hydration is really important. Lotions, SPF to prevent skin cancer. Those are all really important aspects to consider when taking care of yourself. But what I think about wrinkles is I think they provide like the story of your life.
Right.
And if you have a lot of smile lines, I think that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I think that kind of stuff should be celebrated. When you smile so much that you get the smile lines, like, that is awesome. That shows that you've lived an overall, like, happy and joyous, for the most part, existence. Not saying it's not without, the valleys as well. But for the most part, that was your focus. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. So I do think that it's important to really evaluate, why are you doing the things that you're doing as far as looking at yourself and saying what isn't working and what is working.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. And one of the things that I tend to focus on, like I never wore makeup going to work. I didn't want my sexual orientation to be the focus.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Your appearance
to be the focus, right? I wanted the work that I was doing to be the focus. Mm. And my career in the past was very male dominant. And so I always just kind of that, and I have my lazy streak in the mornings. I like to wait until the absolute last minute to get to work. So that was never my focus, to go to work and do the makeup. And I'm not saying that if you do that and you take the time for that, that's completely cool, right? To each his own. But that wasn't mine. However, going out, anytime I went out with my friends or went to an event or went to the bar scene or whatever, I was completely head to toe dolled up. You know, I wore the high heels, I wore the more fitted clothing and attire, and I fully faced. My hair was always done and perfect, and you know, well, as much as it can be perfect in Texas, but when your hair is naturally curly, it's it's difficult. But I was more focused on making myself look good. Now, would I say back then I was doing that to do it for me? I had a lot of fun getting ready with my girlfriends. So for that part, yeah, that was a good time. But I would say that the end game was to catch a boy's attention, right? So it's interesting because, you know, on one hand, I remember after getting into a much longer term relationship like I'm in now and being married, did those things start to fall off? Yes, more often, yes. But I think it also coincides with the fact that I'm older and my care of what other people think of me has been less. I'm more comfortable. I break out less now that I don't wear makeup.
I think too that that kind of highlights what the intention was to catch the eye of a possible mate.
Right.
And now that you have a mate, like we're not hunting.
The hunt is off. But at the same time, I still don't feel that in my relationship, because a majority of the time that I was with him, even just in the dating time period, I wasn't wearing makeup. I still showed who I naturally was. And so that wasn't like a surprise to see me undolled up. Now it's just like an extra treat if we're going to a wedding or whatever, you know?
I just thought about those like movies or shows where, you know, a guy or a girl stays over and then the girl gets up before the guy and like does her makeup and her hair and puts on her deodorant and like brushes her teeth and everything and goes lays back down like she never got up.
I wake up this way.
That sounds so freaking exhausting. Like if I can't just be me around you, like this isn't gonna last long.
No, that's an impossible task. And I've seen and I've heard stories of people doing that. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. But we all do it in some point in time in our life and some fashion. You know, if you came out of the womb and grew up that way without having a care in the world of what anybody else thought of you, I salute you. That is beautiful power.
I wish you were my friend growing up.
Right. Set that example for everyone else. But, you know, it wasn't like that always. I think that the more I've come to realize that I want to love me for who I truly am and what I truly look like, that's my stance. Now, I don't think that if you love makeup, if you love to play with it, if you love to dress up, if you love to do the process and you find joy in doing that for you, I think that's very valuable.
None of that is wrong.
None of that is wrong, you know, but if you are finding that it's an exhausting task for you.
If you're doing it because you feel like you have to hide who you truly are.
Right.
Then that's something worth looking deeper in.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know about you, but when I get all dolled up, like granted, I wear makeup most days, not on the weekends, but most days. But I don't do a lot. Like I prefer the natural like look. Just blend a little, hide the little dark circles under the eyes, but you know, whatever. I digress. That was a cool thing for like 0.2 seconds during the pandemic. But you know, I think if you're trying to hide who you are and you're presenting basically a mask, when somebody compliments that mask, they're not really complimenting who you truly are. So I would I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that compliment may not be as satisfying as if it was a compliment about who you truly are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You know, and there's a lot of natural beauty in all of us. We all possess natural beauty. We all possess these unique differences about each other. And please seek medical advice before I say the next thing. You know, don't take my word because I'm not a doctor. But obviously, if there's something that's standing out to you that might appear as, you know, a caution to the wind as far as your health goes, Like for me, I wasn't sure what was going on there. I mean, yeah, it was an annoyance in my sense of, looking at self in the mirror every day, like, ugh, that didn't used to be there. I don't like it. But I was also concerned health wise about what was happening on my face, right? And so definitely seek that advice when needed. And so I just wanted to make sure that we said that again today. But
Absolutely agree. If you have any questions or concerns,
contact your doctor.
yeah, contact your doctor. We'll say that louder. Just to rule things out.
Right.
But, I would say that I think most of us do have some level of like dysmorphic view of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think, didn't you say that you were starting a new practice?
I am. Yeah. I'm doing are you talking about like the I am practice? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. I did start a new practice where I basically compliment myself every morning, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll say things like, wow, look how beautiful you are. You're amazing. Good job today, Shira. You got up, you brushed your teeth. You might have even taken a shower. That's an extra bonus. And I just do this self-talk of saying like, you're amazing. You're amazing the way you are. Do you care about anyone else's opinion besides your own? Because you know what? The sooner you look at yourself and you love who you are, whether it's your looks, inside out, yada, 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 like you'll start to see that attraction from other people. You just naturally become beautiful to other people no matter what you look like because you are exuding that from yourself.
And so I think that this is a beautiful practice that you can start doing of basically saying positive affirmations. And even just one thing that I'll do in the morning, not always, but there will be some mornings where I will, after I use the restroom, look at myself in the mirror and I say, oh, hey, beautiful.
Yeah.
And
look
just,
at you.
yeah, like move on throughout my day. But that practice can help to remove the funhouse mirror view of yourself that, is dysmorphic a word?
I think so.
I don't know. Anyways.
That's funny. Well, and I think that I remember this study or this new product that it came out. I'm going to have to look it up again, but it was something called like the True Mirror. So it actually removed a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? What's it called? The
Distortion?
Distortion, thank you. That a lot of mirrors have in them, right? You ever have a mirror in your house where one mirror makes you look like a lot shorter than the next one? Or like you see the reflection in like a window glass and you're like, woo, I look super skinny right now, And you're like, you know what? A lot of the product that's man-made of a mirror, right?
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect either. And so we tend, especially if you have like a very specific mirror in your home that you're always looking in to like judge how you look before you walk out the door. And that thing might be morphed a little bit, And so you have this image in your head of what you would look like versus what others actually see. Mm-hmm. I so wish sometimes I could just take my eyes and then see it from somebody else's eyes. I'm like, what do you see when you look at me? Like, I'm very interested just to see what that looks like, But digressing, I do think that like having those positive affirmations and saying the nice and kind things to yourself, because it starts here, hence love always self.
Catching yourself in those negative statements and rewording them and creating a positive statement.
Right.
Be kind to yourself, y'all. There's enough hardships in the world. You don't need to be hard on yourself as well.
It's just as well like with medical things, right? It's like taking the fake, what do they call that when you take
placebo?
The placebo effect, right? The same thing can apply when it comes to looks, in my opinion. You tell yourself like over and over and over again that you're ugly. And even though people might not see that, themselves, or they might not think that of you, you're now feeling like everyone thinks that every time they look at you because you've told yourself that over and over again. So your whole perception has been completely altered.
See creating stories.
See creating stories. That's a great one.
And who said that we all have to look the same? Or there's one version of beauty that's acceptable. It's
right.
Or two, whatever. Like, why limit it? Why not see the beauty in your uniqueness, in your individuality, in your, can we stop calling them flaws?
Yeah,
Or thinking that flaws is a bad thing? Like,
exactly. Exactly.
that's part of what makes us beautiful.
And for those that are vocal towards others about their appearance, I'm going to say this to you right now. Number one, it's one thing to be concerned about someone's health, and you can address that in a very polite and sensitive way. There's another thing to pick on how somebody looks and what their appearance is like 24/7.
And you may think that you're doing somebody a favor,
Right.
but really that person is taking it as a negative thing and being picked on.
And then turning that around and having to do more positive affirmations in the morning just to get around that thought process. So don't do that.
Or, like ask, hey, like, do you want any skincare advice?
Right. Right.
And if they don't, then let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it is not necessarily your cross to bear to tell the world how to be beautiful.
Yeah, because you don't know that if that person might have been having like a real good, like, dang, I look good today. And then they walk out and you're like, wow, maybe you should have done your hair differently. And you're like, just pop that bubble real quick, And it could impact if they're not standing in their own personal power with that and they haven't been practicing that, they could take that home and that could really affect them. And so you don't see what's happening behind closed doors when you're making those one-off comments.
And while intention is important, the delivery of information
Very important.
is also just as important. Right. So even though your intention may be good, it may not come across as positive, uplifting, helpful.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I'd probably say that like 9 times out of 10, if somebody is like dealing with like their weight or whatever, they know.
Exactly.
They're aware.
Most people look in the mirror at least once a day. More than likely, they're aware what's going on.
They're aware.
And unless they ask you for help, maybe just hold those little pieces, those little nuggets inside.
Just bring it in. Put that little thought process in that fucking bucket we talked about earlier today. So, at the end of the day, what we want you to do is to be kind to yourself and to love yourself. And
Absolutely.
Are we ready?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Let's just jump on over to the collective card reading, y'all.
Today we will be using Kyle Gray's Angel Guide Oracle deck.
Ooh.
Now, did you ask for these cards to be given in a certain way, past, present, future, or did we just...
I didn't actually. What I did say in my head, though, is that please utilize these cards to communicate to our audience in the nature of our topic today.
Okay.
For our highest and greatest good, always, of course.
All righty. So our first card today is Power and Intention.
We totally said all that.
Stepping into your power. Be intentional. Okay, so this card is a very colorful card. In the background, mostly yellows and golds. There is a gentleman that is sitting at the forefront of the card, and he looks very stoic, kind of like a king type energy. I can't tell if those are feathers behind him or maybe just like a throne, but on his abdomen or his, coat of armor, it's like a beautiful butterfly effect with like the purples and the blues and golds as well. But again, at the bottom, it says power and intention.
I love that he's very much of an old wise man, right? Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm going to take back the word old for just a second because I'm correlating silver hair with being old, and that's not always the case.
That is not always the case. I started going gray at like 23.
See?
I was actually a really dark brunette, and so I just incorporated it, and so now I look blonde, but really I'm just...
silver.
More like white, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's really amazing that the very first card that we pull has somebody that looks like they're aged. And they are standing in their own power and intention to be this stoic and yet graceful and stern and wise at the same time. And just full of like, look at all that light. It's like holding a staff of light or smoke, something like that.
You know, I don't think, first of all, just because you're old doesn't mean you're wise. Just because you're wise doesn't mean you're old.
Well, he looks wise though.
Yeah. I'm just putting that out there in general. God, there's a quote, and I don't remember it verbatim or who it was by, maybe Socrates, but basically it was like the fool thinks he's wise, where the wise man knows he's a fool.
I have to say this, though. I have to say this because what happened to me yesterday was absolutely hilarious. And we're just going to sidebar for just a second. I was in a restaurant and I was sitting next to my husband, who is very silver foxy. And then across from me was my friend's fiance, who's got the silver all in his beard and everything. And then me, I had my hair pulled back where you could see more of my silver. And my friend, who has beautiful long hair, but it's colorful and like long, and there's no silver showing. And so when we ordered our cocktails, she was the only person at the table that got carded. And I looked at the guy and I was like, wait a minute. I'm not that much older than her. Anyway, so this kind of reminded me of that moment by seeing like this like stoic silver haired gentleman on this card. And I just wanted to make sure when I said that I was just thinking of that moment yesterday.
I got carded at the grocery store yesterday.
Nice. I don't get carded anymore. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, that was the first time in a long time. And that actually reminds me of a conversation that I had with the checkout lady. She was saying, when I was waiting my turn, there was somebody in front of her or in front of me, and she was just offering like little nuggets of wisdom to the person checking out in front of me and then to her manager who came over to help. Yeah. She like straight up told him, "You are not a sorry person. You say, I apologize. You do not say, I'm sorry." And he was like, "I'm sorry." And she was like, "You'll get it sooner or later, honey." And when I got up to her, you know, she's just really nice, and we were cordial and just surface level. And I said, you know, I just want to let you know, I see you and I appreciate you sharing your little bits of wisdom out into the world. And she was like, you know, I work in mental health.
Ooh.
And so I think it's important to share this with the rest of the world as well. And it just...
Beautiful reminder.
Yeah. You know, I understand that she works with mentally unhealthy people. And then I started thinking about like the rest of us, how mentally healthy are we really?
Just questions. I got questions all up in my head.
I digress.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Card number 2, ease and grace. Also a gold card. This guy, he is, I thought he was sitting meditating, but he's actually in, I don't know the yoga position, but basically he's on one foot with the other foot crossed over the knee, but he's squatting down close to the ground. And in his hand, it looks like water is flowing from one hand to the other. And then above him is almost like this swirling ether connection to the sky. And you can see that behind his golden orange wings.
Oh, those are wings.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Oh, that's right. These are angel cards. Duh.
I forgot that too.
I like this card because it's very much in line with the bringing your intentions and the power within that we hold and that we all possess. But this is also reminding you to be easy and graceful on yourself and just move about your day having that within. And things do flow a lot easier that way. It really does.
This takes me back to resisting, you know, and it makes me think of when we're resisting, it's almost like we are trying to swim upstream against a current, where when we set aside the resistance and just start to go with the flow, we actually move with that current with ease and grace.
Yeah. It's very, very true.
And I tell you what, when you're resisting, I bet you get that squinchy thing right between your eyes, like way more.
You don't realize how often you're doing that all day. That tension in your
Yeah.
face. Oh my goodness. And when you finally have that moment of reminder to drop the tongue from the roof of your mouth and relax your jaw, you just, like all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I just forgot.
Man, I woke up with pain on the side of my like forehead today and realized that I was like majorly clenching my jaw last night while I was sleeping.
Oh, that's the worst.
Ugh.
That's the worst. I grind my teeth every once in a while. It's terrible. It's like when I'm really stressed out, my husband will tell me, dude, you were grinding.
Well, night guard,
I know.
Remy night guard.
Oh,
It's
I
fantastic.
forget about that. Yeah, I need to get one. This is a time to learn and adapt. You are being guided to slow down. Take your time, take in the current moment, and allow space for events to occur. You often put too much pressure and expectation on yourself, and this is not required. I love it.
I mean, that's so true because we're often comparing ourselves all the time to people in, movies and magazines and, people on the runway and whatnot. And it's just like, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. I mean, if you're comparing and saying like, ooh, I want to try doing my eyeshadow like that. Okay, fine, whatever, cool. Yeah. Play, have fun with it. But
Colors.
yeah, don't give yourself a hard time for having, a certain color eye or certain color hair or anything like that. Like enjoy it, embrace it. There was a little part in that
This is a time to learn and adapt.
adapt.
Yeah.
So rather than resisting, we're adapting with what we have and really promoting what we have's best health and wellness.
Yeah. I agree. 110%.
Yeah.
You're being guided to flow like water.
Oh.
I had to see that one. Water helps your skin too, so make sure you're hydrating.
Yes. Very, very true. Card number 3. Do the work.
Oh my God. You can't make this up.
So this card has a lot more lighter colors as far as like pastel-y colors in the background. I guess those are wings also. The purples and the greens, kind of softer jewel tones. And then this angel's armor is golden, like it reminds me of like the Golden Brick Road. Or Yellow Brick Road.
It does.
And has like little shoulder pad type coverings. What is that called?
The seal of armor, or like people would wear their family seal on these, and back in the day on those armor shoulder pads.
I know that there's a word for this.
Coat of armor.
No. This is an actual piece, and I don't remember what it's called, but we ordered one for our Renaissance Festival costumes.
I know, and I think Stephen's family has one for like actually his heritage.
Yeah. I keep wanting to call it like a cauldron, but I know that's not right, but it's something so close to that.
Should we look it up?
Sure.
Let's look it up. Pulling out the old Google. What is the
Shoulder piece of armor?
a pauldron?
A pauldron. Okay. So I was really close. Pauldron, not cauldron with a C. Pauldron with a P. So yes, he has 2 of those, one on each side, and those are actually very pretty, like shell colored. So doing the work.
I am seeing that this angel is holding that light right at the heart center. And so that inner work that we always talk about, like doing that inner work.
The self-love work.
Yes.
So all of these, I think this is a beautiful spread of really encouraging us to come back into ourselves, stand in our power, set our intentions for lifting ourselves up through the work that we're doing. And as we let go of old habits, old patterns of treating yourself with negative self-talk, we move into that ease and grace.
Yes. Oh, well done, babe. Well done. Man, I just find that like when we do these cards, because we like to shuffle and then throw the cards down, and then sometimes we're tempted to look and we don't. We'll tell each other, don't look. We're going to save it for the surprise and delight of whatever we just discussed. And so that's what we do now. We don't look at them, and you see these messages and how they appear. And if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching this on YouTube, you're receiving the guidance and the message from your own spirit team at the right time that you're supposed to receive it. Feel free to comment down below and let us know how you're connecting to it. We would love to hear your stories sometimes, so it'd be great if you shared.
Absolutely.
If you're comfortable, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're in that area, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get notifications of our future and upcoming episodes.
Yay! And it helps us grow, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you. We also have social media at Love Always Self.
Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
True story.
And we've got a website, lovealwayself.com. Check it out. You can find the cards that we use today linked in the Amazon shop on our website, as well as below in the show notes.
Yes, we put those links in the show notes. So thank you very much again. So today I think has been like
Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth.
So many bloopers. Thank you very much. Sheet. I'm going to get it out. I got to get it out. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're just a ball of giggles over here, so we're going to end this call right now. Wait, call? Video. We're going to end this video and recording right this second. And say,
y'all go have some fun.
Please, and enjoy the rest of your week. We love you very much.
We love you. Bye.
Don't forget.
Don't forget to love first.
Love last.
And love always.
Bye, everybody. This time, for real. Outro.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shira.
And until next time, remember to love first,
love last, and love always.
Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.